Hey, everybody, welcome back to another awesome episode of the Creative Collective, Wealth Forged Creatively. That's our new slogan. And we have a really awesome special guest tonight. Josh was actually one of our first guests when we started our podcast last year. Well, I think about a couple months in, but he was early on when we started our show. And Josh was actually featured as one of the top three. Pace had him on a podcast as one of the top three most creative deals of the month. I think February, March of last year. And Josh and I had been talking before that, but this guy is a total rock star, man. He's built a really successful company, investing company. He has built some systems and processes and really learned how to scale his business. And Josh is here to share with us tonight. Josh, welcome to the show, bro.
Hey, thank you so much, Lance. How's everybody doing? Good. Okay, sounds
I'm
good.
doing great. Yeah. Yeah, man, doing great, man. Why don't we start off just giving us a little background, a little brief background on you, and tell us who you are, where you're from, and everything.
Yeah. Josh Meyer. I'm originally from Dayton, Ohio. I actually live in Wisconsin now. I was in the military, which is the reason why I was able to start and propel my career. Was 100% off the backs of VA home loans. So I've had four or five at this point, but when I first got into real estate, I was making $17,000 a year working at Domino's, and I had $500 in my bank account. And closing on a single family home, never expected to get into real estate. Just it was my forever home. I was like 21 years old, and I had $500 in my account, and the closing costs were like $800 or $900. And I called the bank or the lender. I'm like, yo, I literally have $500. Like, I have no other way to get any money. And they're like, okay, we'll make it work. To this day, I don't know what they did, but my closing costs were exactly $500. And the guy that I was going to be living with, he stopped paying rent. I kicked him out, and then I rented each bedroom, and I got introduced to cash flow at like $500 a month, which was really good back then. Was like, fuck this. Moved out and rented my room, and then now I'm making $1,000 a month on this little single family home in Dayton, Ohio, and the rest is history, so to speak. I turned it into a career pretty quickly.
Sweet, man. So is that where you're at? Where are you at right now? Where do you live?
I'm in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So
Okay, and your
I,
main market's in Ohio, right? What's your main
actually,
market?
my main market, the last time we talked, my main market was all over the country. Right now, my main market is southeast Wisconsin. So,
Oh, okay, cool.
yeah,
Well, good to know. I've been telling everybody Ohio, so
yeah,
I.
I've got such deep connections in Ohio that we can
Okay,
make.
that's what I thought. Yeah,
I've got
awesome, man. So
creative title there. If you ever need creative title in Ohio, I've got you covered. I've got realtors. I've
yeah,
got pretty much everything down there. It's just not my bread and butter. But yeah, Southeast Wisconsin, it's booming. You get that Midwest prices with that mid coast rents, and
nice.
there's no better combination for an investor.
Sweet, man. Sweet. I know. I talked with you last summer, right? I was in Oregon, I think last time we talked on the phone. I'd just been golfing with a buddy of mine, and we were like having lunch or dinner, I think, the last time we talked, actually. But you were going through some growing pains, right? And like we all do, people are always like, "Oh man, you're doing so great, you're crushing it, you're killing it." What they don't see is all the behind the scenes, all the BS and all the shit we have to deal with on a day to day, And so I think what you're doing, like the key, I think, to building a successful real estate investing company, especially if you want to grow and be more hands off, is learning how to scale and put systems and processes in place. Because I personally have worked with people who I wish I never would have, right? Who were just so messy and sloppy and ended up ultimately not doing well because they didn't clean up the mess along the way, like Pace tells us to do, right? He goes, make a mess, then clean it up. People take that literal. They're like, he told me to make a mess. No, I don't know. Like, oh, make a mess, then clean it as you go, right? So tell us a little bit about what your main investing strategy is. What are you doing?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, I just did my taxes. and I spent $219,000 building this company or scaling this company. And that
Wow.
219,000, that's not construction costs, that's operations. And
Damn.
for the rest of my life, I'll say I spent 219,000 in 6 months to build a company, so you don't have to, because I probably could have done it for less than 50 in hindsight.
Wow.
And I'm not even exaggerating. You know, what it was is you hear the term like bigger isn't always better, right? Well, I learned that the hard way. I was just like going for like everything. Like I'm gonna send 175,000 text messages. I'm gonna have 20 cold callers. I'm gonna, I really just took it to the moon. And if the foundation isn't ready to support that, it's just not going to work. You can spend as much money on it as you want, but you have to have a strong foundation. So what I learned, I did it totally backwards. And I guess I was lucky enough to have a couple hundred grand to play with, which is crazy to think about because 5 years ago I barely had any money whatsoever. But um, long story short, I sort of scaled backwards. I went real big and then I went down and then I started going back up because I essentially going down was cleaning up my mess, as Pace would say. And going
Yeah.
back up was taking what I learned throughout that process and actually scaling the right way. What I'd recommend, Tiffany and Josh High, they have a program called Results Driven. They have like a 4 week like program that you can pay. It's like $199,
Hmm.
and you can learn how to grow a real estate business for that price. What I did is I paid for the 199, and then I paid for the next program, and then I went all the way up to their like $50,000. Well, it's 25,000, but you can turn into 50.
Hmm.
What I should have done is paid $199 and learned everything, and then slowly went from there. Right.
Hmm.
But yeah, everybody listening here, I'm telling you right now that 4 week results driven program for like literally like $199, you will learn how to grow a business, our real estate business from there. It's incredible. Um, so there's that. The other thing is they'll teach you, I mean, everything you need to know, they'll teach you, but I can regurgitate because this is my business model is based off of learning from them. But there's this weird balance between 1099 and W2 and then also VAs. If you're going to go the VA route, you make sure you're on top of them at all time. If you're going to have a virtual assistant, you can't just hire a virtual assistant and expect them to do everything. You have to be on top of them all the time. And the other thing about this is you can throw money at the wall. You can have these big visions of what your company is going to be, but if you're not willing to work day in and day out, you're not going to be successful. I mean, it is incredibly hard. You could my guy right here, Yater's in a part of this. Like he works for me. Like he sees my struggles on a daily basis because the grind that it takes to really be successful running a multi six figure business, it's insane. And that's why I commend Lance so much for being Pace's top connector, because the energy that it takes to constantly be on every single day with people is mind blowing. And this is a people industry. So we're always dealing with people. And like some days you don't want to deal with people, but if you don't deal with people, then it just doesn't work, right? Because this is a people industry. So biggest takeaways, and I apologize for talking so much.
No, no, this is your show, bro. Like we
Yeah.
want you to talk.
Biggest takeaways, go the affordable route. The $200, the $200 classes, the $500 seminars. I think it's a big jump when you start spending 5, 10, 20, 30 grand. Maybe you don't need to do that, right?
Yeah.
Um, the other thing is don't spend any money if you're not willing to work, because you're just wasting your money at that point.
Mm.
And the last thing I suppose is that when you do finally start to bring people in with you to help take off the load, just remember that they're never going to give the same effort that you're going to give. And so you're going to have to either be constantly monitoring them, or you're going to have to lower your expectations for what can be done, right? And that's just,
That's good.
but yeah.
That's
So,
so good.
yeah,
No, you're
nobody's,
right.
yeah, they're not going to know, their knowledge base isn't going to be the same as you.
Yeah.
There's going to be so many variables that you can't control, that you have, if when you do decide to make that next step and scale, and part of scaling is hiring people, just
Hmm.
know that it's there's going to be some growing pains there, and nobody's ever going to give to the company what you're going to give to the company.
That's right.
Um, as far as like marketing, so like our the best marketing channel in my opinion is SMS. And since you guys are Lance's people and you're here, I'll tell you there's a company called Smarter Contact that we've been using that is just incredible. It's they've been around for a bit, but they're not launch control. Like launch control is like the big fish, and unfortunately, the big fish has the most eyes on it, so they have like the most regulations and scrutiny. You don't necessarily want that. Go find a smaller fish that the man hasn't quite started cracking down on yet, so you can get away with doing more things.
Mhm.
Smarter Contact is a great company for SMS. Um, Another thing, if you're just getting started, I would say you could get away with $1,000 a month, 500 bucks a month, probably about 1,000 realistically, with just text messaging, and that includes data. By the way, that's like
Mhm.
a little bit of data with your text messaging, and you can scale a decent business from that one marketing channel at like 1,000, 1,500 bucks a month.
Really?
So, oh yeah, definitely. So that's, I'm not saying you're going to get a bunch of deals, right? But like you're putting you're putting yourself up for the most success potential for success with the least amount of money being invested, if that makes
So what does
sense.
that do? Like if someone were to spend $1,000 a month on texting, walk us through what that means. Like what does that look like?
Yeah. So that looks like, let's say 1,000 to 1,500. And I think 1,500 might be a little bit more
Okay.
realistic. But
Sure.
you can get away with 1,000. But that let's say 1,500 bucks. That could include a CRM. That could include um, a the software, like the platform, aka Smarter Contact. That could include like a batch leads or a prop stream, and then that could include the data also being skip traced for about
Hmm.
$4 a month. So
Okay.
that's probably about where you would be, and and then the ball's in your court at that point to do
Hmm.
all of your follow up, right? And you might have to do it for 3 months, 4 months before you actually get a deal. But I mean, for you spend 6 grand in 4 months and you get a $20,000 deal or $30,000 deal. It's worth it. The caveat to this is like, yeah, it's probably going to take 3 to 6 months to get your first deal. Like
Hmm.
I first got into this, I'm thinking I'm going to do 50 deals a month and blah, blah, blah. No,
Yeah.
it's just not how it works. The people that
Right.
are doing double digit deals a month, they do
Hmm.
two very well. Number one, they're high motor individuals, and number two, they have really good marketing or really good outreach or both, right?
Yeah.
And so don't like temper your like you more than likely you're not going to be 6 months into owning your own company doing 10 deals a month. Like
Right.
it's possible, but it's incredibly unrealistic, and you don't want to put
Hmm.
the expectations on yourself because you'll be disappointed when you don't reach
Yeah.
those goals.
Right.
So just think, 1,500 bucks a month in texting for 4 to 6 months, and you get one deal. Consider yourself happy because you more than likely just paid for all of your marketing, and if it's a good enough deal, you potentially paid for your time as well. And I'm
Hmm.
not saying quit your day job either. Like this is very much like a part-time
Right.
integration into, yeah, this isn't full-time. This is a part-time thing where you take like an hour a day, 2 hours a day max, right?
Right.
Um, let's throw that in there too.
Yeah. Just so if you were full time, you would be obviously able to potentially do 10 deals the first month.
You could full time, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just talking about like people that are just really just getting their feet wet in the
Yeah.
industry.
And
And
to be clear, you're talking about building and scaling a wholesale business, right? I just want to make sure everyone knows.
yeah,
And then
wholesale.
you cherry pick deals like that you like. Is that what you do, kind of? Or
Yep, yep. So right now we're fixing and flipping most of them.
okay.
We are wholesaling the ones that just don't fit our criteria.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm a licensed real estate agent. So this is the other thing. I was spending so much money in marketing, and somebody's like, "Why don't?" We were getting so many leads of people that wanted to sell their home, but they wanted full retail price. It didn't make sense from a fix and flip. Didn't make sense from a wholesale. Didn't make sense from a rental. So it's like, well, my buddy's like, "Well, why don't you just get your license and list them?" I got my license, and I've probably made more money listing properties since July than I have wholesaling.
No
Like
way.
it's
Wow.
been being a realtor is lucrative if you've got
That's cool, man.
yeah, like my first deal coincided with my first 3 deals. I made 21 grand that week. And I'm like, and I probably worked less than 5 hours on all three of those transactions.
Damn.
Like this is
That's
like
nuts.
this is stupid money. Like when I
Mhm.
owned my rental properties, I remember I'd calculate like, oh, I made $3,000 an hour last month because I only went to the properties X, Y, and Z. I think that being a realtor, don't get me wrong, there's headaches being a realtor. I've experienced some. There are properties where you make $2,000 and you worked a lot more, and there's properties where
Yeah.
you make 10 and you literally met the people one time.
Right.
Like it's a weird industry, but the money is just crazy.
Hmm.
So definitely something to consider getting your license. The problem with getting your license is that I now have to disclose when I'm doing deals that
Right. Yeah. That's the
I'm
thing I did. That's why we never did, just because of there's a gray area there. You just have to be careful.
exactly. But so far, so good, and it works out really well because we can pivot on the fly. In fact, Yater's in here. I mean, I think what we he was negotiating 2 or 3 listings today alone, and you're talking about probably 10, 15 grand just in commissions off of that. Um, so there's that. Um, yeah. Okay. So if continue, let's say your feet are wet and you're trying to grow more. I would say hire a one virtual assistant, and they're going to be the ones that you all of the tasks that you were doing, pulling data, sending text messages, all of that. Go
Hmm.
ahead and put it on them now. Let them handle it. Just audit them, make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and
Yeah.
then this is where you can consider like, do I want to, if hey, if you're seeing enough deals come through, like is it worth spending more money on it and potential and trying to get more leads.
Right.
Should I hire a couple cold callers to coincide because you already paid for the data, right? So
Hmm.
data is paid for. It's already been sent to SMS. Well, there's other channels, like should we send this data that's already paid for into cold calling?
Hmm.
You hire one or 2 or 3 or 1 or 2 cold callers, and now you've got SMS, you've got cold calling, and you're like your appointment setters over here, your appointment setters over here, and you're like the final sales boss, and your job is to just close these deals all day.
Close them. So when
So
you say cold callers, are you referencing VAs?
I always VAs. I've had cold
Yeah.
callers that were American, but Lance, I
What's
mean,
what's what's been your best experience with VAs? Where do you source your VAs? Is it Philippines or is it other places
my guys are
in
from
your experience?
Nicaragua and Dominican Republic.
Okay.
So right, Gator actually grew up in he grew up in Oakland, and
Nice.
now is
So
in
they have that. I've heard that that's a good idea. South America, people you can find people who have been educated in the U.S. and so they understand the terminology and the slang better, right? Is that kind of what your experience has been?
yeah, and there's expats. You can go on. Here's a golden nugget for sure, guys. You can go on Facebook groups and literally Google search like expat, and you'll just be surprised how many countries pop up. What is it? Is it Daniel, Shane Daniel, Sean Daniel, the Pace's guy? You know what I'm talking about? Daniel's my he. Does anybody know what I'm talking about here? The Daniels guy. He was at the summit last year with Pace. I digress. Big wholesaler, big time wholesaler. Oh, Brent Daniels. There you go. Thank
That
you.
is Brent Daniels. Okay.
Yep. And so Brent Daniels, he was talking about at the summit how his best VA is also like basically a closer, or I don't know if it's actually she's close to a closer. She's an expat. She made the company like almost 800 grand herself, and her salary was $30,000 in the year.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Wow.
and
That's
she lives in
nuts.
Costa Rica. So 30, I mean 30 grand down there's a ton, but she made the company so much money, and she's content. She's super happy. But what gives her that, what is the, it's like the perfect storm. Number one, she's an expat, so her English is perfect, she knows the United States. Number two, she lives in Costa Rica, so 30 grand is a shit ton of money. So it's like this perfect storm for hey, we can pay you
Mhm.
this, you're happy, but you also have this skills and this foundation, and it's the
Yeah.
perfect combination. So what I
What is an expat, real quick, before
ex-
we get too far?
expatriate, it's a person that used to be they used to live in the United States and
Okay,
live somewhere
that
else.
makes sense. I've never heard that term before, and I'm sure other people haven't either. So I wanted to
Yeah.
clear that up.
Yep. So an expat, it's literally EXPAT, stands for expatriate,
Oh, that's
and
cool.
it's essentially, long story, it's a person that used to live in the United States. And the
Nice.
benefit is you get all of the benefits of hiring an American, except for you can pay them non-American salaries. And if you're ever wondering about taxes, I had a big conversation with my accountant about this because I paid a bunch of money and for VAs last year. There's a couple different forms, the BEN form, and I don't want to get too much into accounting, but moral of the story is you can 100% write off foreign VAs. It's totally allowed. I don't know how much longer, considering how popular they're becoming. But as of today, 2024, you can definitely write off foreign workers within your company.
Okay,
And
cool, man. What do you
so
pay? Like, real quick, do you mind if I ask you what's the average hourly wage for your VAs? What are you
mm,
paying them?
$5, $6, $7 an hour.
Okay,
A
cool.
lot, a lot of people, when they first get into the VA space, they're like paying like, oh, I want to pay $4 an hour. It's pretty common to pay four, except I would just say, hey, pony up the extra couple dollars and get somebody good, right?
Yeah.
Because if somebody's making $4 an hour and somebody offers them 450, they're going to leave you. But
Mhm.
if you're paying somebody 6, 7, and they're actually worth it, like they're less likely to leave your company. So because
Mhm.
most people are not paying 6 or 7, most people are
Right.
paying 4 or 5. So
Yeah.
um, and but yeah, so you're starting your scale. You've got maybe of like an actual assistant that that's your direct assistant, handling your SMS, handling your data, maybe running your calendar, things like that. And then you hire a couple appointment setters, maybe one or two, and now you've got two channels, marketing channels, and you did it organic,
Mhm.
right? You were at $1,500, now you're at $4,000, but you can afford it because your deal flow is representing that. And then from there, the way you scale it is totally up to you. You can go full time. You can hire. You can buy more SMS. You can do more cold callers. You can do outreach. You can even hire. I had a VA running my Facebook for a long time. Like
Mhm.
I was this close to like doing what you do, Lance, on like a daily
Yeah.
basis, where I'm just talking to everybody in these Facebook groups, and I wouldn't have been the person talking at all. I
Right.
just it just didn't it the girl I hired, she ended up getting fired like within 3 weeks, and I never replaced her. But there's a different world where this girl was really good, and now I'm the connector, and it wasn't even Josh Meyer. Like, I know that sounds bad, but I guarantee you there are
Yeah.
people using VAs that you're talking to on a daily
Oh
basis.
yeah. I'm sure of it. Yeah.
So
I often
um
wonder if Pace does it, like, because I don't know how he can respond to everyone on Instagram. He says it's him, but I just don't see how it's possible.
Because in between what 3 and 5 a.m. every day or something like that, he's
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. That's funny, man.
dude's
Sweet.
one.
Hey, Justin, did you want to hop on, or did you have more to add to that? Let's see. There was a question in here, Josh. I
Oh,
wanted to
sorry.
ask you real quick.
I didn't see that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rebecca asked, would you have built a website before you created your process? I think,
Oh, that's a good question. So yeah, you're actually required to have a website to do the text messaging. It's like the API. So yeah, I built my website pretty quickly. I don't use it as much as maybe some people do, but it does bring me some credibility because it's it caters to the clients in the sense of like, here's what I've done in real estate and here's how we help. And if anybody ever wants some credibility or has some questions, I'll just say, hey, here's my website. Um, I'm not the most tech savvy person in the world. In fact, it's one of my biggest weaknesses. If you have genuine tech skills, you can scale so much faster. We were just talking, Yater and I were just talking about this. There was a guy that worked in my company. He was my valedictorian in my high school, and I totally underutilized him. He helped me build out my systems, but in hindsight, I could have done that alone. What I should have had him doing was like web scraping. So
Mhm.
there is the people that are going to be able to utilize this AI to set up web scraping to pull data, using the same AI to send text messages. There's a way to automate like half of this industry. I don't know how to do it, but and I'm sure people are doing it. But if you can figure out a way to automate like the automatable stuff, aka sending text messages, pulling data, scraping, things like that, it would give you a massive advantage. And that goes back to your website question, but I kind of got the software portion of that kind of got me.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, build a website. You can pay somebody to do it. You can do it fairly easily with a couple YouTube videos. LLC.
Yeah.
This kind of goes into the LLC thing. I, everybody's got their thing. Like, get the LLC first. I mean, I guess you kind of have to have the LLC to get API certified. So, in order to do text messaging, you're going to have an LLC as well. So,
Yeah. So yeah, definitely important. LLCs, and well, and we're actually at a training where we're going to be able to learn a lot about being able to protect your assets better. The tricks of the wealthy, right? That's what we all need to know as we scale and grow, like you have, right? You need to learn to protect your assets and your money from the government taking it all. You
yeah,
know what I mean? So the more money we can keep, the better, right?
I'm very
And
low
that's
level.
what,
Like,
yeah.
so one of the things that we've done is like my daughter is now a part of the company at like 16
Mhm.
months old, and she gets X amount of dollars, and my wife as well. And like, there's just like, I think it's like
Yeah.
up to 15 or up to 13,000, something like that.
Yeah.
I have a CPA that I'm fortunate enough kind of handles a lot of the things for me
Yeah.
because the accounting. So here's the other thing about it is once you're doing multiple deals a month, the way that real estate works, like especially from a flipping standpoint, wholesaling is probably a little bit more. Wholesaling definitely is a little bit more straightforward. But when you're doing the flipping aspect and you have to keep track of every single purchase associated to individual properties,
Mhm.
imagine flipping two or three at the same time and keeping track of each individual property is almost impossible. So one of the things that I would recommend is like don't hesitate to hire an accountant or a CPA to help you,
Mhm.
um, because it'll save you so much time in the long run. And there's a company called Wyzant. It's a website, WYZANT, and you can hire QuickBooks tutors. But what you can do is, if you're savvy, you can literally hire them like two or three times a month, and they essentially will do your books for you, um, for like $70 an hour or something. So like maybe for like,
Nice.
yeah, it's kind of, like it's a little loophole, right? They're not technically your accountant, and you're only paying them $250 a month because you're only doing two or maybe three sessions. However, if your books aren't long enough, you might actually be able to rip through everything in 1 hour session, and just like that, you paid somebody $75 an hour to basically do your taxes.
That's
Or
awesome. That's a hack.
yep, Y Z
Nice.
U
I
Y
love
Z
it.
Wyzant, WYZANT. Um,
Cool, man.
Hey Lance, can I jump in here?
Please jump in, Juan. What's up, bro? Everyone, Juan, my guy Juan Padilla. How you feeling, bro? You feeling better?
I'm feeling a lot better. Yes, sir. Hey,
Good.
Joshua, I'm excited about this topic. And it's actually perfect timing because as I told my counterparts here, Justin and Lance, one of the top three things that I'm focused on this year is actually growing and scaling my wholesale business. So I've been wholesaling part-time since 2019. Went full-time in 2022 and really started learning sub two and creative financing. So then, I wasn't just a one-trick pony when it comes to wholesaling, right? Now we can, wholesale creative deals as well. So I've gotten to the point where it's like I need a scale. I'm tired of having to do everything by myself, right? And so you've gone through that, yourself. One thing that really interested me was, as well as actually a couple of things that you just kind of shared. One was I have a friend who's also a wholesaler, who's looking to scale and is actually headed to the Josh and Tiffany High, seminar weekend. I guess it's a 2-day seminar. And I guess they're going to talk through this, the options or things that they have available, right? So I take it that this 4-week course that you were talking about for, $200 or whatever. I mean, is it pretty detailed? Does it actually go into, SOPs and really going into kind of templating your scaling plan? Or is it more just kind of theoretical, just conversation and just kind of things that you should be doing?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're looking for SOPs, you're not going to find SOPs. However, they will literally tell you exactly how they built their business down to the software that they're using and how they do it. And there will be some SOPs. I think the difference, so the 2-day event, I love Tiff and Josh. Actually, I'm from Ohio. They're out of Columbus. I had a really good experience with them. I actually connected them with the Ohio State football program because I have a little bit of connections there. So they're kind of thankful for that because Josh is a big football guy. But anyways, sometimes you got to watch what you say because you like people, right? But I'm going to say that the 2-day event, which was like, I think I paid like $3,000 or $4,000, I can't remember, was junk compared to the $199.
Wow.
Wow.
It was just like it was like there wasn't much value add, and
Yeah.
I spent hundreds of times more.
Yeah.
And I would say a good 20 to 30% of that 2-day is them trying to push their $25,000 course.
Okay. And
So
that makes sense. I mean, that's what most people do, right? I mean, if we've been in the industry long enough, we understand kind of the setup, if you will, right? To kind of walk you through their courses or whatever, their mentorships, and then eventually they kind of grow you or walk you through this road, if you will. So and that's fine. That's totally understandable. Getting back to the scaling portion that you just talked about. One thing that Pace talked about before was that and this is where I'm kind of torn, right? Because I'm looking to hire my first acquisitions person, and I was really considering somebody from Egypt to be a closer for me. And I was actually focused on someone overseas becoming a closer for me and not actually hiring somebody locally. Pace basically said that his model is he hires everybody from the US with the exception of acquisitions. Acquisitions is the only thing that he uses overseas folks for, because those are the individuals that are gonna, really work hard for you. They're not gonna complain about a lot of stuff, and those are the people that if you keep them happy, they're the least likely to leave you, right? With all the knowledge and training that you've done, and reduce the amount of turnover, right? So, what are your thoughts as it relates to acquisitions? And hiring people, physically locally here in the US versus someone internationally to be your acquisitions folks?
yeah, I've hired both. So Tiff and Josh actually really promote hiring people in the United States. So I hired 3 people. They were actually 2 of them worked in my office. One of them was remote and out of Indianapolis, and I fired all 3 of them within 3 months. So I and on the flip side of that, VAs, I've hired a bunch of VAs and I've had to fire a decent amount of them
Of course.
for different reasons, right?
Yeah.
Some of them, most of them work hard, but not all of their skills are going to align with what you're trying to accomplish.
Right.
Where you might have to go through a dozen to keep 2 or 3, and that's just the way it is. Tiffany has a saying, and it's a hire slow and fire
Fire
fast.
fast. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's definitely the truth, because you'll know. I mean, you'll
Yeah.
know. Like, here's the biggest issues with VAs: horrible internet sometimes, um,
Mm.
a language barrier.
Accent, right?
Yep, that is a big one, because people are already getting a lot of scam calls, and there's a lot that they lose credibility.
Mm-hmm.
And then that also coincides with, we're using power dialers, right? I get a lot of spam calls because I do a lot of like refinances and things like that. And even on the American side, if they're using a dialer, it's going to sound like nothing, and then you'll hear that click. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
you're,
Yeah.
and it could be anybody on the phone. It can be me on the phone. But by the time you hear that silence and then the click, you're like, oh, this is a cold call. This is a calling center. This is a fucking scam. And then it's over.
Yeah.
So one thing that Yater's here, he doesn't even know, but I've been thinking about this. Part of me wants to go back to doing just one dial at a time, because I was looking at our batch dialer, and the rate of people answering is just so bad. And like, our numbers are not spammed. It's horrible. And people will answer and then they'll hang up right away. But I think it's because of that half-second little dead pause.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you this is, maybe, hey, doing 3 or 4 line dialers is cool, but maybe that it'd be better to just do a one line dialer. And then also, when you hire the person, try to find somebody that has that has good people skills, good sales skills. They don't say no when people try to hop off the phone. Test them, go through calls with them, um, and test their internet. You know what? Josh Meyer did it, so you don't have to. I'm telling you right now, be a fucking dick. Like, I hate to say it, but like, this is your time, this is your money. Like, don't be a softy, don't be a nice guy. Like, if these people are not the right fit, if they don't have good internet, if they're soft on the phone, you're gonna end up firing them anyways. Don't waste your time, don't waste your money. Let them
Mm.
go. Um,
Yeah.
Bring them into a Google Meet or a Zoom. Make them share their screen, make them go through their emails. If they don't open emails, you don't want them. Make them share their screen, make them go to an internet speed test. If their internet is horrible, you don't want them. And I know this sounds kind of mean, but trust me, I've done this enough times. You have to be, this way. You have to be this way. If they pass those initial tests, now get to know them after that. Do a couple sales calls with them. Maybe even let them log in, give them a temporary login to a dialer, and let them run a couple calls with you on there, and consider it to be like a working interview.
Yeah.
And if they freeze up on the phone right away, not for you. Just say, hey, look, I apologize. I know it was your first time, but like, it's just not going to work out.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds harsh. I was talking to my wife about this the other day. I don't think business people are jerks because they're jerks. I think business people become hardened because their time is like this. And
Mm-hmm.
when your time is being wasted, your natural reaction is to kind of be a jerk, right? Like,
Right.
when you don't have any time or energy to give.
Yeah.
And you use that in the hiring process, because the people that pass those tests and can handle you in that state, they're going to be able to handle the people that are telling them to shove a watermelon up their ass when you call them. Like seriously, like, these are the things that they're going to get on a daily basis. So if they can't handle a little bit of coldness from you, they're definitely not going to be able to handle it from the people that
Right. Yeah. No, that's 100%. So I appreciate that. And then the last question I had was these expats that you're talking about, right? That are down in, Costa Rica or wherever the case may be. How do you find these? How do you find these individuals? How do you end up hiring these folks?
There are so many Facebook groups. In fact, like, Yater, he got hired through a Facebook group, um, through another one of my VAs, because they're just all interconnected. And so what I did is I just started looking through Facebook groups. How the homework right now, like, pull out your phone and go into Facebook and type in EXPAT and space, and you will see so many groups come up. Join those groups, make a post, say, hi, you know you have to get a little creative. My posts always are like, um, for any of you guys that have worked virtually in the United States, like, how did that go? Like, I'm trying to like stir up the conversation because some places will ban you. You can also look up like remote work, like name the country: remote work Thailand, remote work Philippines, remote work Nicaragua, remote work Costa Rica. Now, you might not find expats that way as easily, but you're going to find a mountain of VAs. The other thing is, do not let the groups. There's going to be like hiring services or whatever the
Headhunters.
headhunters. Yeah,
Mhm.
they're going to try to sell their services on to
Right.
you at
Yeah.
like $9 an hour, and then they're going to give you the shittiest VA that they pay like 3 or 4. Don't go
Mm.
either. You're looking for a freelancer. You're looking.
Right.
You'll find them. Those people that are trying to sell you their software, their service, don't give it don't pay it any mind. Give it a try yourself first. If you do decide, hey, $9 is fine, I would rather have a company handling everything. There's a company called Investor VAs that
Mhm.
I've used in the past. They're pretty good. They're actually pretty good. But it's $9 an hour. I mean, if you paid somebody $9 an hour in the Philippines, dude, they would fucking fly here and build you a house. Like,
Yeah.
if you're gonna pay them $9 an hour, you might as well pay somebody outright because they will work their ass off for you.
Yeah, I actually have a VA from the Philippines, and that's exactly how it worked out. I hired her through a company, and then I was gonna let her go, and I called the company. I said, "Hey, I'm gonna go a different way," and I just basically told the company, "See you later," and then she reached out to me personally, and she's
Yeah,
like, "Hey, I'm hoping that maybe if it was a rate thing, that maybe if I can give you a cheaper rate, then maybe I can stay on with you." I really enjoy working with you. And so, I mean, I've had this VA for 2 years. I'm like, sold. I mean, it was like $3 cheaper
yeah,
just by going, and working with her directly. But the issue that I have with the Philippines is what you just mentioned, with regards to, you have a lot of people who, are selling their biggest asset. And the last thing they need is to be talking to somebody who really doesn't understand them. And they're
mhm,
going to be like, who is this company, right? Like, they can't even hire people here in the States, and all of a sudden they start questioning all these things, and then they end up, basically looking at you as maybe like not a company that they want to work with.
absolutely.
So
Yater, are you here? Let's see if he's actually paying
Yeah, I'm
attention.
here. I'm listening to the whole thing.
Hey, where are you located right now?
I'm I,
No. If you were on the phone with a client, where are you located?
I'm in Cudahy,
That's right.
Cudahy, Wisconsin.
Nice. So
Yeah.
all of them have been trained to be local.
And if for whatever reason they feel like might have a Hispanic accent, I'm sorry, I'll just go ahead and tell them that I grew up in California. I grew
hey,
up in
you just tell them I'm from East Los Angeles.
yeah, there you go. I grew up in Cali. I grew up in Cali. I moved to Wisconsin. Right now I'm actually working from Cudahy, Wisconsin.
Nice.
Oh, that's good, Yader. I appreciate that, man. Well, look, if you end up needing somebody or a friend of yours that needs a job, man, you let me know.
All right. Yeah. All right. Sounds good. Thank
Juan's
you.
gonna steal my guy.
Yeah. Well, no, I won't steal Yader, but I'll steal Yader's friend. How's
Hey,
that?
I've got a guy for you.
Okay,
You
nice,
want
man. Let's go. I'll
his name's
connect with you.
Frank Valdivia, and
Okay.
I just fired him on Sunday.
Oh, wait,
However,
wait, wait. How are you gonna give me somebody you just fired, brother?
I'll put it to you like this: he's really good. He's really smart. And just because I fired him doesn't mean that I don't think he's a good VA. It's just that him and we didn't see eye to eye, right? As what I wanted him to do. But with that being said, if you gave him $5 an hour, because I was giving him more, right? And in hindsight, I gave him too much for his ability.
Mm.
And he even wanted, it didn't work out. But I promise you, and I'm not just trying to throw my junk on you. I'm telling you, I think he's good enough to hire, and he has his accent isn't so bad. It's better than most, and he's got a lot of skills. He handled a lot of my marketing actually.
Okay.
So
Well,
if
listen,
you're,
I don't want to hijack the call. I want to definitely, I'll follow up with you directly on this.
yeah,
No, I'm
I'd like
glad
to
you
talk to you
did,
more
man.
about that. What's that?
This is more in your lane, bro. This is the perfect Zoom for you to hijack. uh, I'd say it's about what, 10 till, if anyone has any questions, we can open up to some questions. Otherwise, Josh, like while we're waiting for, if anyone wants to raise their hand or ask questions, you can hop on. But Josh, what are you averaging? What's your, like, do you get a certain percentage of each deal? Like, what do you, if you were making a $10,000 assignment fee, let's just say, what would your profit on that be with how large your team is at this point?
Well, it depends because I try to save in between 5 and 7,000. That technically goes to the company
Mm-hmm.
every deal, because another scaling mistake here is I, for whatever reason, like an idiot, didn't account for time when I would do a flip. So what I mean by that is, like, if it took me 2.5 months to do a flip and that's the only flip I was doing, or the only deal I did in, let's say, 2.5 months, I made 30 grand, but then 30 grand that's my profit from the flip, but subtract 2.5 months worth of what the company cost. And for
Mm-hmm.
whatever reason, my dumb brain, it took me like 3 or 4 deals to start really accounting for that. So one thing I do is I always try to save, like, I account for like 5 to 7 grand for every deal that has to go back into the company. But what we do is Yater will get 1 or 5%, and there's other people besides Yater, but he's my kind of my next guy up for sure on the company. But 1% for all deals within the company, which is crazy, right? Because they might not even, like, I paid Yater a commission on his last paycheck for a deal that he had nothing to do with, right? Well, part of that is my incentive to them to be a part of the company, and then they get 5% for any deals that they had got basically to the finish line, that they did the sales, they got it under contract. I mean, these guys are trained, they know how to send contracts, and they know how to send it to title. They know how to, Yater could walk a deal from start to finish and I didn't even have to be there, period. But
Wow.
because of that, he gets 5% for those deals.
Nice.
Yep. And so let's say, so if you took the 10,000 and you took away 5%, that's 500. So we're at 9,500. Let's say the company gets 7,000. Josh Meyer gets $2,500 roughly.
That's cool. And you don't have to even touch the deal at this point.
Not really, no. That's kind of why part of what this may actually be something that I'm coming back into because it's selling season and I'm trying to make even more money. But you could ask Yater, like, this man's barely seen me for the last 3 months. I mean, Yater, when was the last time I worked a full week with you, do you think?
I'm sorry, it's been a while.
Like, how
Yeah.
long, like, realistically, do you think, like a full week?
Like a full week. Can't remember, honestly.
Maybe never, right? Like,
Yeah,
seriously.
I don't think I ever seen you for like a whole full week.
Yeah. So, like, these guys, like, I pretty much got this thing automated, and not that we're like the biggest company in the world, but like, like, I mean, I just made like 100 grand on the 4th for one deal. So, like, things are
Wow.
going well enough. So,
That's crazy, man. That's
yeah.
awesome. What does an average month of income look like roughly, like for your entire company? Like gross revenue, would you say?
I would say the average over let's say since July, I mean, probably like 30 to 50K, like nothing crazy, but like definitely enough to where um it's nice, like, for me not having and this is one of the things where I'm struggling, because I think that 30 to 50K could be 250K if I was in the
Right.
business every single day.
Mm,
And that's why, like, I keep saying over and over again, Lance, like, your energy blows my mind. Like, if I like and like the guys that, like the Bash Bros and stuff, like those
yeah,
people, like, that genuinely can put in 40, 50, 60 hours, like, into this every
yeah,
single week. Those are the people that are going to make $250,000 a month, right? I'm content with my 20, 30, 40 and only
yeah.
working, 15, 20 hours a week.
Love it, man. Hey, you
So
know what? That's living comfortable, very comfortable for a lot of people. I mean, you're basically at that point, anything 20,000 or more, you're considered wealthy in the US, so.
See, but the thing is that Joshua just mentioned something. That 25, 30K, he's living like a king in Wisconsin, bro.
Oh yeah,
That's right. Yeah,
literally like
that's right.
in Wisconsin. I mean, yeah, I mean
You
it's
know,
it's
he's
crazy.
living, hey, man. I'm telling you, he's living all the way up there and Green Bay, right? And he's got like box tickets, right, to the Green Bay Packers.
We went crazy in 2020, the beginning of 2020. No, part of 2022 and then the beginning of 2023. We were going crazy. I mean, spending money, like way too much money. I don't recommend it. If you make a bunch of money in 1 year, like 6, 7, 800 grand in 1 year, and you've never made anything like that before, don't blow your money. Like, just don't
Right.
do it. We did that, and like I don't regret it, but I'll tell you what, we probably could have bought at least another 100 units instead of spending 30 grand and 30 grand.
Shit.
Like, don't do it. Do not.
And you said, yeah, that's great advice.
Josh Meyer did it first, so you don't have to. The dopamine hit is not worth not having the money. I'll put it to you like
Right.
that. So,
Well, that's the biggest reason why people don't get wealthy in our country is because they get that taste, and then everything goes up with their income, their costs, their expenses, more bags, more purses, more cars, more, and that's it. I mean, Pace is a really good example. How long he drove around his little Prius for freaking like 13 years, dude. I was like, what? But
yeah,
but
I'm
anyways, but I also heard you say 25, 30 grand on your wholesale business, right? You also have a fix and flip, and you said you just made 100 grand. So you get deals here and there that are just like jackpots, right?
well, the 100 grand was from a flip. That was
Yep.
from so
And
the
so that's completely separate though from your wholesale. You're talking about from your wholesale business alone making 25 or 30, right?
I'm actually talking about the combination of the two. So
Okay.
yeah. So my one of the things is like my rental business is like kind of what it's been eating up my time more than anything. And that's separate. I'm not counting that income at all.
Okay.
It's
Well,
just,
and I'm gonna say you're hardly involved though. So I mean I'm pretty stoked about a 25, 30 grand a month and not having to be in it. So
yeah. Yeah,
I
no.
love that, dude.
Well, and that's part of the thing is like if you get good VAs and they learn the process and they can become trustworthy, like
Yeah.
that is worth its weight in gold because then you can step out and do other things,
Yeah, exactly. Makes
Which is
sense.
the $6, $7, $8 an hour is worth it. It's worth
Mhm.
it. But
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
wanted to ask a question. Speaking of spending money, you mentioned that you spent a lot in scaling your business. What was your biggest stupid tax, so to speak?
well, I would say the 25K I spent on results driven was pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
That I've never used my sub 2. I don't even go on the Facebook as much. Every once in a while I'll make a post. I don't, I kind of threw Pace a bone there because I actually joined sub 2 after being on his podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was like, my justification for that 10 grand was, well, he put me on with the podcast, but education in general. I mean, YouTube is free, and I did YouTube free for many years. I grew practically my real estate, my rental business, which is less impressive than this business. However, is what funded this business.
Mm-hmm.
I grew so organically. I mean, I literally didn't pay a single penny to learn anything
Mm-hmm.
on how to scale that. And I scaled that all the way up to 9 properties, 36 units without paying a single person to teach me anything. And I think that wholesalers and fix and flippers can do the same thing. The only reason I even paid for the education is because I had the money from the rental side that allowed me to say, hey, maybe this is a bit of a cheat code or a shortcut, right?
And you don't feel like it was?
No, I don't, because I just think that maybe it's my learning style, but those 15 to 25-minute YouTube videos, I can rip those, learn a ton, and move on. But if you put in like a course that's multiple hours long or requires, it's not for me personally, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah. And then the other question I had was, You know, as you scaled, what was your biggest pain point, and how did you, you know, sort of move beyond that, or pain points?
Yeah. The one of the issues is that I'm not like tech savvy.
Mhm.
So all of the tech that is required to be
Mhm.
successful in this industry has been difficult for me from start to finish.
Yeah.
And,
I can relate to that.
Yeah.
yeah, it's hard. Like you need a
Yeah.
CRM. And Podio, fortunately I pay a company called Crescent Tech, which for $199 you can learn everything about that company too, right? What I mean by that, that's that same company from Tiff and Josh. They for like $1,000 a year can handle all of basically most of the software that you need them to handle. They'll also build and implement software for you. So, for example, I think I paid them like maybe $2,000 to build my Podio, and then I paid them another $1,000 to just manage it for the whole year. If I have any issues, I can put a ticket in.
Right.
Someone like me, that $3, $4, $5,000 is worth it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Get the people who know what they're doing where you don't involved is key, right?
exactly, and having partners. I think that one of my biggest limiting um, factors for my business is that I'm a one man show. And
Mhm.
a lot of people that I know that scale very well have a complementary partner.
Yeah.
And I have been trying to find that partner for a number of years. It just hasn't happened. And I don't know if I ever will find that partner because I think a lot of us that are sorry, there was work was calling. But that partner is our significant other, and my wife, I love her to death. She'll never be able to help me in the business, right? That's just not.
Mhm.
For
Well,
example,
that's where you can leverage the sub two community, man. There's a lot of rock stars in there.
I'm trying, and that's I made a post recently to try to bring somebody in. I am paranoid. Like, like I know this sounds bad, but I spent so much money on this company, and I'm just terrified to bring somebody into it that number one potentially could do damage to it. And I know for a fact that that's a limiting belief that I have because I have to be able to have a partner to scale. But
Right.
put this in perspective. So we have like 1,200 leads in our CRM. There's a company called Sell My House Fast, which is one way that people get leads, right? I mean, there's a million ways, but this is like one channel that a lot of people get leads. In Milwaukee, one lead from Sell My House Fast is in between $300 and $400. So if you consider my 1,200 leads in my system, that's $480,000 worth of leads just in that system. So I bring somebody in, and what if they're fucking scumbag? And what if they one export file away from wasting a couple $100,000 that I put into this my heart and soul? And how do you I know that, and trust me, I know like that you need
No, it
that.
makes sense. I mean, you built it all. I mean, someone could, I mean, realistically, but just like putting the feelers out, you and I can talk a little bit more off of the podcast about what you're looking for. I might be able to help you, man, find somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I'm looking for? We can talk about it off, but I would say just
Mhm.
find somebody that compliments you, right? Like
Yeah.
if you are out doing X, Y, and Z, and you need somebody doing A, B, and C, like find somebody to do A, B, and
I
C.
feel like you need an integrator partner, right?
I need an,
Integrator.
yep.
Yeah.
I'm a visionary. I need an
Yeah.
integrator. 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
and the other thing I would add to that is something that Pace talks about all the time as well, and that is, date that person that you're going to do business with, right? You don't go right off and marry or elope that person.
Yep.
You date them for a while, right? That's what he did with Cody. They
Yep.
did what they did is they ended up working a couple of deals together, getting familiar with each other, understanding each other's flow and how they actually work, with each other, what each other's temperament is. And, he kind of coined the phrase to date your partner, right? and then eventually, get to the point where you put a ring on it.
Exactly.
And that,
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to approach, finding your right partner, right? Is making sure that,
Mhm.
first and foremost that, you don't give them the keys to the kingdom right away. You make
Yeah.
them earn them, right? You make them earn those keys and get to the point where you're comfortable enough where you can say, you know what, I see myself totally doing business with this individual. Like, perfect example, like us four, right? Us four, Lance, myself, Justin, and Damon. We started this podcast a year ago, and we have such trust within one another that we can actually start a bank account and be able to like know that neither one of us is going to screw each other over because we've been working with each other for this past year, right? Now, it's not to say that one of us ain't going to go crazy and possibly do something, right? But ultimately, we did a year long, round of dating, if you will, to get comfortable enough to be able to say, you know what, we're gonna, create an LLC together or a bank account together, and buy businesses or whatever, buy multifamily properties. So
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's a great
100%.
it's funny. I'm glad we're talking about this because that is something that I made a post about like earlier this week on Pace's giant group and the little sub 2 group.
Yeah.
Because I know like if I want to be doing, the $100,000-$200,000 a month, I'm gonna need a partner. And they're gonna need to be somebody that likes to be on the computer
Yeah.
doing this all day long.
Yep. There's a lot of people out there like that. They don't want to be the face. They want to be behind the scenes. Most integrators that I know, actually.
Well, Lance, let's talk seriously because if you have a couple people in mind, I mean, I'm ready. I'm ready to give the keys to the kingdom after a nice couple of dates. I really am. I mean, that's one. Speaking of keys to the kingdom, Frank, the guy that I let go of, that was part of the problem. I gave him the keys to the kingdom, and he wasn't ready for it. Not that he did anything wrong with me. He did nothing wrong. He was overwhelmed. And that's where our relationship went downhill. But if you're just looking to hire somebody that's going to be a good VA, he's perfect for the role.
Right.
But yeah. So, anyways,
Oh well, Juan, if you don't hire him, I might.
he's a good kid, man.
Sorry,
skills.
he's already taken.
Yeah.
650 an hour. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, hey, I'm
Now we got a bidding war going.
We're gonna get onto a bidding war. I'll give him a higher commission.
Oh yeah, no. Give him 550 and make him earn it. So
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Did you have anything you wanted to end with, man? Any favorite quotes or favorite books you'd like to reference, or any other words for the audience that you'd want to, or advice?
So I used to always say fake it until you become it. And if you look at my podcast with Pace, in the background, it's fake it until you become it. And I actually spelled until wrong, which is funny, but that was the mindset that I had for a long time. And am I here or am I frozen? Am I good?
It's a delay, but yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I can see it delayed on my screen too.
Yeah.
It was fake it until you become it. I love that term for a long time because I always felt like I was coming from behind and I didn't fit in. And now it's
Now we're losing you.
the process.
Oh, you're back.
And success is okay. I'm not sure why. Give me a thumbs up, Lance, if we're good. No?
Yeah, you're back. You're back.
Okay. I'm really delayed, but that's okay. So success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts.
I love it, dude.
That's
yeah,
good.
that quote is like a dry that every day I think about that because I've had the highest of the highs in this industry and I've had lows. I made over 100 grand in 45, like literally in 45 days on one transaction one time. And 2 months later, I lost 60 grand in another transaction,
Mm.
So there's just, I've experienced both sides of that. And my weekly and or daily basis of the things that I deal with, running this company, is so far in the extremes, just based off of the client group that we deal with homeowners that are in foreclosure and everything else, that you're going to have lots of success. You're going to have lots of failure. And it is the courage to continue that counts.
So good. So good. Josh, thank you so much for coming on, man. You've been a wealth of knowledge and you're a lot of fun to hang out with. I appreciate you, brother. Where can people get a hold of you if they want to reach out to you and connect?
Yeah. My Instagram, it is Meyer _ REI. And I'll put my phone number here too, if anybody wants to get a hold of me.
Sure. Awesome, man.
There's that. So, and sorry about the delay. I don't know what happened here at the end, but shoot me a text, give me a call, whatever you want to do. And we can talk.
Love it, man. All right, let's talk next week, man, about trying to find you a partner.
Let's do it.
All right, bro. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Y'all have a good night. See you next week.